I am Misfit Horror, and today we are going to be covering disturbing, mysterious, and terrifying horror stories that took place in New Zealand.
But Misfit Horror, nobody even knows about New Zealand.
Aotearoa. This is my country, alright? This is why. This is why we've chosen. So grab your LNP and cookie time as we dive in to New Zealand horror stories. It was the night of December 21st, 1978, when the quiet skies over the Kaikoura mountain ranges on New Zealand's South Island became the scene of an extraordinary and frightening event. A routine cargo flight, TE-901, operated by StoriesHere, was en route from Blenheim to Christchurch. On board were Captain Vern Powell and co-pilot Ian Petty alongside their crew. Their flight was intended to be uneventful, a simple hop over the mountainous terrain of New Zealand. But as they approached the Kaikoura coast, something strange happened. Around 11 p.m, the crew noticed an unusual light in the sky. At first, it appeared as a mere speck, distant and unthreatening. But within minutes, the light began to move in erratic patterns, darting across the sky and performing maneuvers that seemed impossible for any known aircraft. The crew, initially dismissive, soon realized that they were witnessing something far beyond the ordinary. The lights, described as pulsating and orb-like, appeared to be following the aircraft. They seemed intelligent, as if they were observing the plane, maintaining a close yet unnerving distance. The phenomena was so compelling that the crew contacted air control in Wellington, which confirmed that unknown radar targets were indeed tracking the plane. As news of the strange lights spread, the incident quickly gained media attention. On December 30th, just days after the initial sighting, a television crew from Channel Zero, now TVNZ, was on board another flight to investigate the mysterious phenomena. This flight, led by Captain Bill Startup, was accompanied by a journalist and a cameraman. To their astonishment, the lights reappeared, bright, glowing orbs that seemed to dance around the plane, disappearing and reappearing in ways that defied logic. The camera crew captured the eerie spectacle on film, and the footage aired on New Zealand television, creating a nationwide sensation. The media dubbed them the Kaikoura Lights, and soon the story became an international phenomenon, attracting the attention of UFO enthusiasts and skeptics alike. As the mystery deepened, numerous theories were proposed to explain the lights. The New Zealand Ministry of Defence, alongside the Royal New Zealand Air Force, conducted investigations but found no conclusive answers. Some skeptics suggest that the lights were simply reflections from squid boats, while others speculated about atmospheric conditions or experimental aircraft. However, these explanations failed to account for the erratic behavior and high-speed maneuvers that witnesses observed. Dr. Bruce Maccabee, a US Navy physicist and UFO researcher, examined the radar data and film footage. He concluded that the lights were indeed unusual and could not be easily dismissed as conventional aircraft or natural phenomena. Maccabee's findings fueled further speculation, leading to debates between those who believed in extraterrestrial explanations and those who sought more earthly causes. More than 4 decades later, the Kaikoura Lights remain one of New Zealand's most enduring mysteries. Despite numerous investigations and countless theories, the true nature of the lights has never been fully explained. For the witnesses, the experience left an indelible mark, a sense of awe mixed with a lingering unease. The pilots and crew involved were seasoned professionals, not prone to flights of fancy, which only adds to the credibility and gravity of their accounts. The incident has since become a part of New Zealand's cultural fabric, often cited in discussions of unexplained phenomena. It also stands as a reminder that even in a world dominated by science and reason, there are still mysteries that defy explanation. The Kaikoura Lights continue to fascinate, not just as a UFO story, but as a profound and unsettling encounter with the unknown. For many, the events of that December night invoke a sense of wonder and dread. It's a reminder that even in the most tranquil and picturesque places on Earth, the unknown can suddenly break through the veil of the ordinary, leaving us with more questions than answers. The Kaikoura Lights, with their eerie presence and unresolved nature, remain a haunting chapter in New Zealand's history, one that continues to captivate and disturb all who hear about it. In the peaceful town of Aramoana, nestled in the Otago region of New Zealand, tranquility was shattered on November 13th, 1990. The sleepy coastal village, with its serene streets and picturesque views, would become the backdrop of one of New Zealand's most harrowing crimes. David Gray, a 33-year-old resident, had always seemed like an ordinary member of the community. But beneath the facade of normalcy lay a growing rage that would erupt into unimaginable violence. On that fateful day, Gray embarked on a horrifying rampage that would claim the lives of 13 people, including a police officer, and would leave a community forever scarred. It began with a seemingly innocuous event. Gray had gotten into a heated property dispute with a neighbour that would leave him very angry. By the late afternoon, his agitation reached a fever pitch. Armed with a semi-automatic rifle, Gray embarked on a spree of violence that would send shockwaves through the small community. Gray's first victim was Gary Holden, his neighbour with whom he had a property dispute, but it wasn't long before he turned his eyes to the rest of his neighbourhood. The once quiet streets of Aramoana became a battleground. Gray moved from house to house, gunning down anyone who crossed his path. Neighbours who heard the gunfire, at first, thought it was an accident or fireworks. The reality was far more sinister. Among the first responders was Senior Constable Stuart Guthrie, a seasoned officer who arrived at the scene to find the village in chaos. As he tried to restore order and protect the remaining residents, Gray's violence showed no sign of stopping. Guthrie, brave and determined, tried to negotiate with Gray, but his efforts were met with more gunfire. Tragically, Guthrie was shot and killed while trying to shield a family. Desperate calls for help flooded the police dispatch, with witnesses reporting that Gray was methodical in moving through the streets, targeting anyone he could find. The scene was described as a nightmarish tableau. Gray's rifle spraying bullets, people fleeing in terror, and the distant sound of sirens struggling to pierce through the cacophony of violence. For those trapped in their homes, the ordeal was a living nightmare. One family, huddled together in a small bedroom, held their breath as Gray's footsteps approached their house. They could hear him moving through the garden, the sound of his gun, and anguished cries from other homes. The terror of not knowing if he would break into their home or move on was palpable. They prayed for survival, their fear intensifying with each passing minute. As night fell, the village was cloaked in darkness, but the horror persisted. Gray continued his rampage under the cover of night, moving with a methodical cruelty. Local and national media were soon covering the tragedy live, capturing the unfolding catastrophe in real time. The nation watched in horror as the small community of Aramoana became synonymous with terror and grief. The situation reached its climax when a police tactical team, armed and ready, arrived at the scene. After hours of relentless pursuit, Gray was eventually cornered. The final confrontation was intense and chaotic, with Gray continuing to fire at the officers. He was finally shot and killed after a fierce exchange of gunfire that left the area strewn with spent shell casings and shattered lives. The aftermath of the Aramoana Massacre left the community in ruins. The once peaceful village was now a place of mourning and fear. The tragedy had claimed 13 lives and left countless others traumatized. Gray's motives remained as murky as the night he unleashed his fury. His psychological profile revealed deep-seated issues, but they did little to explain the scale of his violence or offer solace to the victims. In the years that followed, Aramoana slowly began to heal, though the scars of that night remained deeply etched in the community's memory. Annual memorial services were held to honour the victims and to remind future generations about the horrific events that transpired in their quiet town. Today, Aramoana stands as a chilling reminder of how quickly the veneer of normalcy can be stripped away by unthinkable violence. The massacre remains one of New Zealand's darkest chapters, a real-life horror story that continues to haunt the collective consciousness of those who lived through it and those who have learned about it since. On February 22nd, 2011, Christchurch, New Zealand was struck by a devastating earthquake that shook the city to its core. Occurring at 12:51 p.m. local time, the earthquake registered 6.3 on the Richter scale and was centered near Littleton, just southeast of Christchurch. The earthquake's shallow depth of about 5 kilometers intensified the shaking, leading to severe damage in the city's central business district. The timing of the quake, during the lunch hour, meant that many people were out and about, which contributed to the high number of casualties. In the heart of Christchurch, the quake caused the collapse of several buildings. Among the most tragic losses was the CTV building, a 6-story office building that crumbled, resulting in the deaths of 115 people. The Pine Gould Corporation building also suffered catastrophic damage, claiming the lives of 18 individuals. The destruction extended to iconic structures, such as the Christchurch Cathedral, which saw its spire collapse and significant damage to the building. The human toll was profound. The earthquake claimed 185 lives and injured over 2,000 people. The immediate response involved emergency services, including police, firefighters, and paramedics, who worked tirelessly to rescue survivors trapped under the rubble. The scale of the destruction made rescue operations challenging, and international aid was sought to support the local response. The economic impact of the earthquake was substantial. Businesses faced closures or relocations, and the cost of rebuilding or repairing infrastructure was immense. Key roads, bridges, and utilities were disrupted, affecting both daily life and emergency response efforts. The earthquake also led to severe emotional and psychological impacts on the community, with many residents grappling with trauma and displacement. In the aftermath, Christchurch faced a complex recovery process. The immediate focus was on providing temporary shelter and support to those affected. Efforts included setting up temporary facilities, such as the Restart Mall, which offered retail and business spaces while the city's permanent structures were being restored. Rebuilding the city required careful planning. The focus was on not just repairing damage, but also improving earthquake resilience. New building codes and standards were implemented to ensure that future constructions could better withstand seismic events. The central business district saw extensive redevelopment, including the demolition of unsafe structures and the construction of new buildings. Community resilience played a crucial role in the recovery. Residents, local businesses, and organizations came together to support each other through the challenging times. The solidarity and determination of the Christchurch community were vital in overcoming the adversity brought by the earthquake. The 2011 Christchurch earthquake stands as a significant event in New Zealand's history. It underscored the importance of preparedness and resilience in the face of natural disasters. The lessons learned from this tragedy have influenced disaster management practices and building standards across the country. Christchurch continues to rebuild and recover, honouring the memory of those who lost their lives and working towards a more resilient future. The earthquake remains a sobering reminder of the power of natural forces and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of disaster.